It's the Tribune podcast on this, the first Wednesday of February, the 2nd of the 2nd, 2022. And you're very welcome to join us with Eamon Declan and myself, John McAteer. Not much happening news-wise, but we can sleep a bit easier in our beds now that the Russians have moved out of our territorial waters. They've moved into a safer zone.
The fishermen came to our rescue.
The fishermen have been complaining for about 40 years, fishing off Tory for lobsters. The Russian subbers were always a damn nuisance to them, and we're only discovering that now apparently. But who did the Russians give the message to? Was it to Brenton Byrne and the Irish Fishermen's Association, or was it to Simon Coveney? That is the big one, because Brenton Byrne was on TV, I think it was Friday night, maybe Saturday night, doesn't really matter because he's probably not listening to me anyway. And they got the news from the Russian ambassador, and then it had to be withdrawn because the minister wasn't made aware of it. So you can see that that ambassador quickly been moved to the gulags somewhere for the next 65 years.
The tundra.
Out of all that then has this amazing question has arisen. Ireland wouldn't be fit to defend itself against attack. Mother of Jesus. Did you ever hear worse than that?
What would they send out to defeat the Russians, do you think, or drive them away?
Well, there's a big campaign on now for more resources now for the defence forces and to defend our territorial waters now. Anyway, I don't know what.
See, nobody's staying because they're not paying them a decent wage. I mean, that's the bottom line. People that leave the defence forces will tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody expects us to have a big army or a big navy or indeed a big air force. First of all, it would be a pointless exercise for a small nation. But, I mean, we're depending on other countries to identify for us where foreign shipping is. You know, we don't know where those fishing boats, how close they are to our shores, because we don't have the ability to read that on our radar systems. I would say that we probably have to upgrade the whole aspect of the defences. That's going to cost tens of millions, billions probably.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when has there been any real investment in promoting the work of the army? You know.
Yeah. You think that the biggest promotion of the armies has always been what they've done overseas for other countries?
Yeah.
You know, peacekeeping roles, not within our own.
Yeah, see, like, that's a wide contradiction, really, isn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah.
That we have a renowned name at the UN for our overseas work in peacekeeping, but here at Ireland, we have. Who are we depending on actually? Are we depending on the British?
Yeah.
You know. But given that they have a slice of the country under their feet, I mean, what more would you expect?
They're European neighbours now, no doubt.
Yeah, and I've seen a senior member of the Navy talking about that during the week, you know, about the investment and the work, you know, commitments to investment some years ago, and really nothing has happened in that regard, which is not an unusual story.
You'd be surprised nowadays if anything did happen. Apart, you know, it'll be a news headline for a week. It'll be an analysis in the papers and the Sundays and all that kind of thing for a month. And then to move on to a different agenda. And then it's from something like this Ireland's economic zone being infiltrated by the Russians and the firing live missiles and all this kind of thing. It's absolutely shocking. But I mean, does anybody lie awake at night wondering about that? Would we not be more worried about our waiting lists in the hospitals and stuff like that, and the need for more housing, which is something we'll be dealing with a little bit later on in the podcast.
And what about the party in Ivy House? How does that fit into things? Or
apparently they have been chastised, to put it mildly. Apparently they have been told that they have done wrong, and I would imagine they'd have been pretty well satisfied at Ivy House last Saturday night when the Russian message came through that Simon Coveney had been successful in them leaving our water. So the next thing you could see, well, Boris Johnson flew to the Ukraine yesterday. I don't know whether he got anything there for his hard work or not.
So he was delighted to go after the.
Obviously he was sorry to come back because he got a real pasting in the House of Commons today when he tried to he tried to name check the Labour leader Keith Starmer with that of Jimmy Savile all those years ago.
Which was
that was absolutely disgraceful. But
and a lie, which would be unusual.
Well, I mean, Boris Johnson now been called a liar. If ever a day passes that he's not called a liar, he will be surprised, you know.
Yeah.
That will be an unusual day.
Declan, talk to us about the Sports Star Awards. It was a big night. Obviously, it was all recorded. You probably knew all about it here last Wednesday.
I would have known a fair bit about it at that
Remained
stage.
very
Yeah,
tight-lipped, I have to say.
yeah,
Now.
yeah.
Was it recorded ahead of Wednesday or?
It was recorded ahead of Wednesday, or Friday, sorry. Yeah, recorded ahead of last Friday. Yeah, went ahead last Friday, second time virtually. And listen, yeah, we had a good night. And Brendan Boyce is the overall winner for the second time in 3 years, on the back of his fine performance in the Olympic Games, finishing 10th in the world. And we had a short list of 6 for that award. Among them was Georgie Kelly, the Bohemians striker from Burnfoot, and Jeremy McLaughlin in there too, along with young Dylan McMonigal from Letterkenny, the jockey. So listen, we had a good deal of sport last year. It was a bit slow to start, but once it started, then we had
How big a task is it, from a logical point of view, to try and put that whole package together, to put it out on social media?
Yeah, listen, there's about 2 months of work on that. You know, 2 months of work of solid work.
Huge amount of technical expertise involved there. You know,
yeah.
You're obviously working with a video expert.
We have a production company,
right.
ABC, working with us on that, and then obviously there's a huge amount of gathering of material, footage, pictures, and then actually info on the relevant winners then and all that sort of stuff. So there's work going on it all year, but obviously it becomes very intensive in the last 2 months.
I'd have to confess I didn't get watching it yet, because on last Friday evening I was about to sit down to watch it. The phone rang, and it was Michelle McFadden from the Donegal Democrat, just to have a wee chat. Probably could have had 2 or 3 cups of tea, socially distanced. She was probably down with Guido, and I'm up in the end of Fanet. But it was 8:20 when we finally wound up our conversation.
We would have been just over at that stage.
Yeah, and I had other commitments then later on in the evening. But I must sit down and watch it this weekend.
Yeah, but
Still available to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
But all the reports of those who watched it, and there were many, it was very professional, and well done to yourself indeed. To all the committee, because it's a long haul. It's a voluntary effort.
It's a huge voluntary effort, and
we also tend to overlook the contribution made by Donegal County Council in their sponsorship of it.
Absolutely,
which is they're long-time sponsors now.
They're
the
exclusive sponsors now for close to 30 years, and had been involved before that as well. Yeah, so
themselves and Guinness were
Guinness were there. Before that. So no, they've been a long time involved, and a great support, and it's mutually beneficial. They see the benefits of being involved in a sporting awards that.
Absolutely.
And it's the best of the county, really, doesn't it?
That covers the whole county, and it's not all about winning either. It's about participation and volunteerism.
Well, the council would be very deeply embedded in the promotion of most of those things. You know, the emphasis on sport and the value of sport from a health-wise point of view, and indeed the fact that sport gives Donegal a pretty high rating there. On the national stadium and indeed on the international stadium, just going back to the Olympics there, you know.
And just on a final note on that, it was the 20th anniversary of the death of the late Brendan McDade, who was
really
20 years ago he passed away, and we introduced a Brendan McDade Memorial Award 2 years later in 2004. So that's going now 17 years. So
Paul McDade has been involved.
Paul continued on, took up the baton from Brendan, and still involved there as secretary as well.
We're going to delve onto the paper, Eamon, at long last. You've been out and about quite a bit this week, because
there's a few odds and ends going on.
I'm just looking for my notes to see what we're supposed to talk about.
We started with the Down and Steppers.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've lost my notes on it.
No, not worry. We have the pages hot off the press here.
That's hot off.
Atlantic Dippers raised 52,000 for Ellie's Wish campaign. That's a wee story I was just doing there. I was speaking with Roisin McBride, and this is a serious community effort that's taken part. This is a group. Ellie McHugh is a 9-year-old girl who she had complications with a tumour on her spine when she was very young. When she's only between 1 and 2 years of age, she had to undergo, I think, 3 different surgeries, and very invasive surgeries, and one of them resulted in nerve damage that's left her a wheelchair user since then. Now Ellie has grown up to be a fine young girl, but she has a wish to try to get back walking again. And they think there's an opportunity now that presents itself in a physiotherapy centre in Los Angeles. And obviously that's going to take a huge amount of money. She has a place secured on it next October. So some of her relations have started the campaign, Ellie's Wish to Walk campaign. And as part of it, they're going in for a dip every day. They've been in for a dip in the Atlantic Ocean every day since the new year started. So they've just completed the whole of January, didn't miss a day. and they are using that to get people to come and join them.
But it's a colossal amount of money by a small group of people in what, a month's time.
And there's more to it than just the Daily Dippers, but there's local schools, businesses, clubs, everything's involved in it. Good wee story. There's some nice pictures to show it up there.
What kind of money would be needed to get her to Los Angeles?
I think they have a target on their GoFundMe campaign, which is Ellie's Wish to Walk at GoFundMe, for about 70,000. Because I think it's not just the fact that she has to do an initial 3-week stint at this place, which is very advanced sort of physical therapy, and a thing called a neurosuit, which is kind of helps re-stimulate the nerves and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
She does a 3-week stint in that and gets assessed to how it goes, and I'm sure there could be either a repeat visit or there'll certainly be follow-on physiotherapy needs, physical therapy needs for some time to come. But that will be the start of it, hopefully.
It's an amazing amount of money.
Yeah.
Aye.
And just, on a similar, we covered it for a couple of weeks there, young Roker McGinley. He's gone off to the United States now for treatment, so he's in America at the moment, so we wish him well with that.
Well, that's good on him. Hey, well, little Ellie thing hopefully is going to follow in the same suit, and we'll wish them well too. And there's an
amazing capacity in Donegal to raise money, regardless of what the cause is. There's an amazing capacity, and people rise to new heights all the time, and
there's always something novel that they do.
Their reward just is in the success of that fundraising. Like we have an ability to raise money that always continues to surprise me, and I've been covering the media for well over 50 years.
Oh yeah, it's been very clear with that story and with the young McGinley story as well. It's been an amazing amount of
the opportunity it presents.
The generosity that we have absolutely knows no bounds. And here's a man who has been the recipient of an award after a lifetime. Most people that read the paper will be very familiar with Willie Doherty from Carrigart. He's been awarded an MS Volunteer of the Year at the National Presentation Ceremony, which had to be online, unfortunately. And he was nominated by Jackie Brown, the chairperson of the Donegal branch of the MS Society, a no more worthy recipient than Willie. He's over 90 years of age, perhaps 91 now.
Wow,
he's still out and about. He's still probably about Letterkenny.
He's an amazing man.
Selling lines. He sells hundreds of boxes of Christmas cards, and probably still goes to bingo. When you'd meet Willie, first of all, you would not even dream that he's anywhere near 90, not alone being over it. But he's been doing this all his lifetime, and his contribution has been amazing. But this is a lovely award, and fair play to Jackie Brown and the team there at the MS branch here in Donegal. Well done to all concerned. It's a very, very fitting tribute. And there's a very nice cartoon from John Joe Harkin here. It's one of those, well, I don't speak Russian, but obviously John Joe does, because he has a name checked this Russian vessel. It's an absolute monster. And he's just saying, Neffet, my goodness, I don't know what this is about. We are no threat, we are just here to search for Fungi the dolphin. Lovely. And there's a road map there to the Bear Peninsula, to Dingle, and then there's another one to Russia. And it's brilliant. John Joe keeps churning out these things. Where do we want to go next? Do we want to go
to the right? We could do that piece there.
On the Pig's Back.
The Pig's Back, I had a good chat there during the week with chap called Dean Fee, and he's the editor of a new literary journal that's just started in Donegal. Dean is originally from Cavan, but he's living in Ramelton now for some time, along with his partner Emily, and they're a very literary household. He's a writer, she's a poet, but it's an interesting story. This new Pig's Back, which is named after Muckish and the well-known saying that you'd be on the pig's back. I
found that story to be very, very absorbing and very interesting.
Aye.
Because Ramelton seems to have a habit of it's almost a magnet for people like that who want to come in here and settle down and be part of our everyday lives. But I have to say that I don't know him, and until I read it, I didn't know of the Pig's Back. But there you are.
Well, that's it. Well, it has been created. The book is ready. They're actually just taking pre-orders, and it'll be available to those in the next few weeks. But it's probably the first of its kind to come out of there, and it's one of these things that came out of lockdown, because this was a collection of writings that were done really to kind of join with the Columkill 1500 celebrations. They're all based around the tourist or the journey. That's the theme of it. And now they stand all collected in this book. So that's going to be a great outlet for any aspiring up-and-coming writers in the future. It's It's properly presented. It's professionally edited. They're working with professional editors. There's a small bursary for your article to get paid for it. So the Pig's Back is going to be, as I say, issue 1 is out now. That'll be something that'll probably come out 2 to 3 times a year, and with a few other events on there as well. Nice little feature, worth a wee read if you want to know more about that type of thing. So good luck to Dean and all the people. It was produced through the Regional Culture Centre. So
and we're also saying congratulations on the first front page this week to Mary McAuliffe from Kildonfanny, who celebrated her 101st birthday on Monday. And she's pictured with her brother Morris, who is 97, and her 94-year-old sister Greta. And obviously they were the recipients of many messages of congratulations. And they looked very, very well there. We're back on the front page looking at the Foreign Minister is facing questions at the IFA AGM, which is coming up online on next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. And people will be advised to log into it. The story tells them the number to log into. But Foreign Minister Sean McConnell is the special guest, and he's going to face demands to return levies on green diesel to the farming community. But I suppose at this point there are more questions arising here about the increases in the national herd. He said him and the Taoiseach Michael Martin spoke last week at the IFA National AGM in Dublin, and Michael Martin was pretty upfront about it, and in that there is, well, they know that there's around 25% of the dairy farmers still in an expansionary mode. In other words, they're growing their herds. We have probably a record number of dairy cattle in the country at the moment, 1.6 million. It has been growing over a number of years. Those cows are now due to calve down in the next couple of months, but more significantly, their offspring of a couple of seasons ago will be due to calve next year. So, like, where do we go with this here? We're just going to be asking the question probably at the AGM: is a milk cap on the way again? Is a cap on milk quotas on the agenda? And we're probably also going to be asking, at least Brendan McLaughlin is going to be asking, is a cap on milk, are the days of cheap food now over? We're finding in the shops and the supermarket shelves that cheap food is becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Prices have gone up extraordinarily since Christmas time, and that's been driven by inflation. Farmers are going to be hit by that because we've had an era of cheap food dating back probably for over 20 years, where almost anything became affordable. You know, okay, we have the cheap supermarket chains,
driving the prices.
Very crowded. Their aisles are very, very crowded. Quality's quite good, but inflation is the focus of our lead story this week as well. And it reads, inflation forces company out of 2 projects. And this is a discussion that I was having with Donald Boyle of Boyle Construction, who are based in Letterkenny since about 1984. Donald has been in the business all his life, and he has revealed that they have been forced to abandon 2 public works contracts, one in Buncrana, a major job in Buncrana. It's almost a 2-school contract, Skull Eastigan. There's 2 schools being amalgamated into one. That's a big contract. The other one that they've been forced to pull out of due to inflation is the major car park at Sligo University Hospital. He just gave me an insight into what inflation means. That the price that they agreed a contract, they hadn't signed off on it. They were lucky in that they hadn't. When they recosted the increases, it was more than 2 million more.
Yeah.
They couldn't carry that.
Yeah, not at all.
They couldn't carry that. Really. Probably other contractors are facing similar difficulties, but the one thing that he did reassure us about, because the rumour was out that the Little Angel School might face delays. In fact, that's not true. Work began on the Little Angel School on Monday, and it's going to be completed on schedule next year. So that is at least good news. But overall, the picture presented by different people I talked to in the construction industry is galloping inflation. We're talking about things like rebar concrete that's used extensively now in the business. This time last year it was about $5.90 a tonne. Now it's up 72.6%. Now that there is called hyperinflation. But it calls into question then, men can't be got. They're getting about 140 in a block for bricklaying in Donegal. In Dublin, the equivalent price is $3.50. So load upon load of men are heading off to Dublin to work for the week. And why shouldn't they? So how do we cope with that?
And major projects are in jeopardy.
Major projects are in jeopardy. They will face delays because they will probably face a retendering process, and say a job that cost 10 or 12 million will probably go up. Contractors will be tendering much higher because you talk seriously to people in business, especially in the contracting business, that know what they're talking about. They don't see any end to this inflationary spiral this year. Now at that point a lot of damage will have been done, because first of all we're going to have new wage agreements brokered this year on the back of that rising inflation, which is probably in the region of 5.6% at the moment. The second thing is that manpower, or person power nowadays to be politically correct, is a huge problem outside of Dublin.
The labour force,
The labour force. But I mean, I'm talking to people behind the scenes in the construction industry who I believe that we're sort of seeing the seeds being sown for the next property crash, but for a different reason to the last time. Prices are going to take people completely out of the housing market. The affordability is going to be the big issue, apart from the lack of housing, which is going to become secondary. But that is our lead story. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Buy a copy of the Tribune. It'll give you something to read for the weekend. Thanks.